Alright. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classic Less New Classics. This episode number 2447 and double shot number 2341. Yep. We're discussing a Spider-Man trade, definitely, and some issues of Spectualr Spider-Man. Mostly put it exactly what that is. So, this is basically talking about a brand new Spider-Man book, which I have discussed issues of this series already, kind of. There will be some skipping per se, but not a lot per se, not like in the case of a few other series I'm discussing, so there's that. So, first what we have is Marvel Mastworks Marvel Team Up Volume 1, which collects the first 11 issues of this really good series. Your writers for the issues, for the first 11 issues. You have 2 through 11 done by Jerry Conway. So yeah, he writes all but one issue collecting this book. The opening issue is done by Roy Thomas. Lee Wing co-writes issue number 11. Your artwork, for mostly is Ross Audrey, does 1 through 3, 7, and 9. 4 through 6 is done by Gil Kane. Jim Mooney does 8, 10, and 11. That's interesting. Book covers time period of March 1972 and concludes in July of 1975. Yes, you're thinking, wait, that's like about a little over a year's worth of comics. Well, the comic is published once every couple months. So, the opening issue is basically Spider-Man teaming up with the Human Torch to take on the Sandman. Also, this issue here is noteworthy for a debut of this costume for the Sandman. This is basically his 70s costume. Because when people think of the Sand, people think of wearing that light and dark green plaid shirt, the khaki pants and shoes. This is basically an official costume that basically was designed for him. Oh, sorry. Have yourself a Sandman little Christmas. Yeah, I think this book was released in March. And it's a Christmas issue. Yeah. Basically, we see Sandman basically debut his brand new costume. Like, it's a man. I know who he is. He's the Sandman. He's like, that's my name, so don't wear it out. And, of course, Captain is like, ha, I'm Sand. They find him, of course. Yeah, and Human Torch gets involved here, too. But this is, of course, a lot of fun here. Good Christmas issue. Yeah, there's also some really cool stuff here. And then, next issue, we'll continue this. It's like this is like a... Here's the thing. Spider-Man teams with the Human Torch for the first 3 issues. And this you might find interesting. There was a point in time where basically every other issue was Spider-Man or Human Torch team with somebody. Excuse me. The reason why I think Marvel created this series... And by the way, here's a fun fact. Did the series predates Spectualr Spider-Man, Peter Parker's Spectualr Spider-Man by 1 year? Yes. Now, the only reason why this book existed, because of Spider-Man's popularity. And, of course, fans still like seeing him team with their heroes. So, why not? And the very next issue, basically, is Spider-Man and Human Torch take on the Frightful Four, though it's more like the Frightful Three, comprised of the Sandman, the Wizard, and the Trapster. Yep, so... Yeah, this is a really weird issue, this one, where Spider-Man sort of brainwashed to go with them. So, they fight, and basically their plan is to unleash Annihilus. You know, the guy who's the main villain of the classic 2006 story, Annihilation. Yeah, and he's bigger in this story. This book is a lot of fun. And, of course, basically that, well... Then, pretty much for the next issue, it's Michael Morbius returning. Yes, Michael Morbius returns. Yeah, 2 guys fighting, and of course Morbius shows up. Now, I kind of discussed this here, but I want to discuss it here because basically it's Marvel Team Up, obviously. Now, Michael Morbius, if you're really curious about this, like, what was his previous appearance prior to this very story? The answer is back in Amazing Spider-Man 102. You're thinking, really? was his previous appearance, just a comic that came out like a year prior. Yeah, he's here in this issue, and I believe in the following issue as well, which this one I've discussed a couple times. This issue, issue 4, by the way, after issue 3, basically Spider-Man teams with different people. Yes. Now, mostly put basically Morbius is here, just to follow up with his previous appearance. Now, this issue and the following issue were collected in the Epic Collection for Morbius. Well, this issue anyways. The following issue was collected in one of the X-Men Epic Collection. This was their first appearance since, I think their last appearance chronologically was in, what was their previous appearance? No, it wasn't X-Men, was it? No, I don't think so. It was, Amazing Adventures number 12. That was their previous appearance. Mostly anyways. Yes. Though, Beast does not really take part in the issue. No, not really. And also, the X-Men do not suit up in this issue. Nope, they're in basically regular civilian clothes the whole issue. In issue number 5, basically, he teams up with the Vision. Yes. To take on, well, Harry Osborn was in the issue. This is what I find interesting. Now, Harry Osborn, this was basically just after the whole thing with Spencer Smythe, basically. Puppet Master. Now, here's the thing. You have an Avenger team with Spider-Man take off Fantastic Four villain, the Puppet Master. You would have thought that they'd bring in, like the Thing or the Human Torch. Nope, it's a Vision, because somehow involves Puppet Master for reasons. And there's also this robot named Monstroid. And he does not appear very much at all. Nope. Excuse me. After this issue, his next appearance is in Marvel Premiere 24, where he's destroyed by Iron Fist. Yep. Now, Pup Master made his last appearance back in the 100th issue of the Fantastic Four 2 years prior to this, and his next appearance will be in the very next issue, where he teams up with another Fantastic Four villain, the Mad Thinker. And his last appearance also in the very last issue as well. And they will apparently die, but they do return to the issue of Iron Man. 3 years later. Yep, and Spider-Man team was a thing, like, wait, you didn't team with the last issue, but you did with this one? Also, it has some problems with tangibility. In issue 4, yep, Spider-Man team with Thor take on some rock trolls. You're thinking, that's awesome. It is. It is amazing. Yeah. Issue number 8, basically, this one is notorious. This one's famous because this is the first appearance of a character who would occasionally appear in Thunderbolts. A character who was basically originally referred to as Mankiller, who later became Amazon. And she's a open lesbian. Yes, seriously. Yep. Her real name is Katrina Van Horn. Yeah, currently she's basically that character. And currently she is deceased. And you're thinking, really? Yeah, she got killed off in the final issue of Thunderbolts Volume 3. Yeah, Jim Zeb killed off this really cool character. Yeah. Now, this also has Spider-Man team with Greer Nelson. You're thinking, who's Greer Nelson, you might ask? Why, it's the Future's Hydra, here referred to as the Cat. When you see her in the book, you're thinking, oh, Spider-Man's team with Hellcat before her debut. Not really. It's not Hellcat. Let me show off the cover here because it is quite interesting of a cover. You're thinking, oh, interesting. Now, of course, Thing himself will get his own team series just a couple years after this when he gets to the Marvel Toon, which that I plan on discussing more because that's an amazing book. Here it is. And here's the cat. And you're thinking, wait, that's the costume Hellcat wears. Oh yeah, and that's Mankiller. Yeah. This actually came in between a couple issues of her own solo, her very brief solo book she had back in the 70s. Yes, as a matter of fact, this appearance comes right after the cancellation of a brief solo book, issue 4. And then right after this, She appears in Giant-Sized Creatures #1, which becomes Giant-Sized Werewolf #2 with the very next issue. Yep, and this is where she becomes Tigra. So yeah, bye-bye that costume. Yep. Oh, by the way, in the case of Mankiller, her next appearance is an issue of Daredevil. You're thinking, what? Daredevil? Yep, Daredevil, just 2 years after this. And then issue #9, he has his very first team up with Iron Man to take out a Thor villain, known as the Tomorrow Man. Yes, seriously. Yeah, his last appearance was in Journey to Dimension #102 back in 1964. So yeah, 9 years. And of course, Kang the Conqueror is at least Kang makes sense for Iron Man here, but Zarko? Yeah, it is weird. And then issue 10, he teams up with the Human Torch. They continue this time travel storyline with Iron Man being here. And then issue 11 teams up with the Inhumans. Yep. As for now, what happens to these characters afterwards? Zarko makes his next appearance in Thor 243, which came out just a couple years after this. But in the case of you think, okay, what about King the Conqueror? Well, I'm not sure exactly what shows up next, but these were a really fun set of issues. I love the cover for issue #11. Basically, it's kind of like symbol the battle for Earth from Planet of the Apes, which I'm sure they took inspiration from that. Yeah, and if you're really curious, their last appearance was back in Fantastic Four 132, which they brought in Omega. Yeah, Omega makes a brief cameo. Which I'm glad the fact that Conway did ignore that. You thinking, would he ignore that? Did he write the issue for Avengers? No, that was Roy Thomas. He probably was suggested by Roy Thomas to put... It was probably... This is my personal theory anyways. I think the reason why Omega makes a cameo in this issue is because Roy Thomas probably suggested Conway, hey, because the Inhumans are here, can you include this character I created? And I'm sure, but he's probably like, sure, why not? Yep, these issues are fantastic. I love every single issue of this series. For this first Mastworks, I give this one a 10 out of 10. Yep. All right. No, thank you. Excuse me. Next up is the Spectualr Spider-Man. Yeah. So we're discussing issues 171 to 183. Now, here's the thing about the first 6 issues. It's basically 3 two-parters. 171 and 172 is basically Spider-Man and the Puma having a final face-off. Where they go out, basically, like, he doesn't like some stuff Puma is doing, so he challenges him, he doesn't like to be touched, so basically also Puma decides to sell his shares to Jameson of Daily Bugle for $1. And you're thinking, wait, buy something back for $1. Does that seem familiar to you? It does, because Bendis did the same thing when he had Tony Stark sell the Avengers Mansion to Luke Cage to form his own team. And then by the end of the run, Tony Stark sold back Tony Stark also for $1. Yeah, seriously. Yep. Yeah, and they go to the desert, and of course they settle their feud, which I thought this was really cool. And by the way, this is actually toward the end of Jerry Conway's run in the book. Yeah, these last issues here, this is basically toward the end of his book with Sal Bushman, the artwork. Yeah, I love the fact this is a quick 2-part to wrap up this quick story arc. By the way, with issue number, well, basically already, we're still in the 90s, by the way. Yep. And then right afterwards, we deal with Dr. Octopus returning. Yep. Which, by the way, in this 2-parter, yes, gets a 2-parter because it involves him. Here's the thing. We have Dr. Octopus wearing a trench coat. Now this issue, you read this, and you're like, wait, This two-parter seems familiar. Was this two-parter possibly adapted for the second episode of Spider-Man Animated Series? I think it was. Though this came out just a few years after that. Though we have Damage Lee joining him on co-scripting. The issue starts out with these three guys being at this thing. We have this octopus robot show up. And then Dr. Octopus in this coat. And of course the Christmas issue. We have Mary Jane's cousin, Kristen, here. Yeah. It's a good, fun Christmas issue. And then Dr. Octopus tries to spoil the fun. And then we have this slimy reporter who tries to... Come on. Thank you. Now, does it continue with our next issue with Spider-Man something and Dr. Octopus? Yes. Yes, it does. So, yeah, Jameson reveals a statue, which is him. Yeah, and of course, basically... And you have Mary Jane wonder where the heck her husband is. Yo, Red, how about a kiss? I see your kiss, Toad. Ribbit. And of course, Peter kisses him on the cheek. And the guy's like, someday, Parker, someday. I'm sure he's like, lucky guy. Yes. Yeah, it's all about veiling Jameson's silly statue. And he gets destroyed. By Dr. Octopus and wearing the white outfit. Yes. I believe this is the debut of the white suit. Yes, a suit he actually would sport in the animated series. Yeah. I thought this was really cool. Because I think this is the debut of this very costume, if I'm not mistaken. Because this would be his costume he'd wear throughout the rest of the 90s. But yeah, this was really cool. I love this two-parter. Now, next comes 175, which actually that was three-parter, actually. Yep, three-parter. And then comes 176. Yeah, a character who only appeared just for these two issues here. Though she surprisingly came back twice. So... This woman named Kurna, there's also this disease going around. Now, this for some reason, now, let me point something out here about this. Now, Conway would leave the book with issue, I think it was the 74, I think it was? Yeah, I think 74 was his last issue, which he co-did it with David Michelinie and Terry Kabanoff. But then we have, what's 275, we have David Michelinie as a solo. And then we have, for 276 and 277, which they further writer this book as a guest writer, Kurt Busiek. Yeah, there's also like a virus, Mary Jane variant involved, and of course about the cure Corona, and he's like, nope. Well, actually, her stupid brother, who's the real villain of the story, yeah, this guy is a big jerk. Oh my gosh. And of course, this is follow up in Spider-Man Unlimited number 3 in a backup story. Yes, which features basically Cedric Foster making one last appearance prior to Corella making her last appearance in Marvel 9 Spider-Man number 6 as part of the Venomous story arc. The annual itself, already discussed that one already. So then comes a six-parter that starts with issue 178 and it concludes with 183. This issue is also This issue 178 is also famous for the debut of Ashley Kafka, and I believe this is the issue that starts Dan Matias' run for the book. Now, if you're really curious, how long was he the writer of this book? Let's find out. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, so even though he did do 130, 132, this actually would be the start of his run for the book. And his run would kind of conclude with 203, but he would come back a few times. This actually was his first run for the book. He came back for 2 one-shot issues and came back fully for 240 and 257, which means he left before the Gathering 5 and he did like a couple annuals. Now this 6-parter, like of course debut Dr. Kafka, this also features the return of Vermin. Now I've tried to ask Jay Matias about this character. Like, what was the base of his character? He just didn't understand the question. And all he said was that he and whoever the artist was created him Captain America. And I'm like, what was the purpose of this character? Yeah, he started as a recurring film for Cap, and then he shows up in... It's almost like when Cap team with Spider-Man and Marvel team up number 128. It's almost like, hey, here's a new villain for you. Keep him. I don't want him. Yeah, mostly put this 6-parter is a follow-up. Yes, a follow-up to Kraven's Last Hunt. Yep. And this 6-part also it would lay the seeds for Harry Osborn's demise in comics. Yes. Because halfway to the story arc, Harry Osborn goes insane. He nearly hit his own child, Normie, in the story arc. And it becomes completely... It's the start of his instability, which would basically culminate in 189, though he would return in basically issue 199. Yes, Vermin himself basically will be a tragic figure in the story arc, though it's... You could say this is the most proper introduction to Vermin. This is like he was featured previously. Now, Dr. Kafka... Despite the fact, yes, this was her comic mirror debut. And the way she's drawn here, it's different to how she's normally drawn. Despite the fact you have Sal Buscema in the artwork. And, yeah. Now let me show off Dr. Kafka. This woman is Dr. Ashley Kafka. Normally, when she's drawn, she's a very lovely woman. But this is Sal Buscema. Here's a close-up of her face. It's almost like Sal didn't know how to draw her properly. Yeah, it's almost like he was expecting other artists basically draw her better. And this character will be heavily featured on the Spider-Man animated series, where she would basically form a one-episode relationship with Eddie Brock. Yes, seriously. And of course, Dr. Ashley Kafka, this being her debut appearance. Though chronologically, her first appearance was actually in 182. Yeah, and she became a recurring character in this very book. And they get moved over to have a Spider-Man briefly. She appeared sporadically throughout the 90s. And then, like, at the 250, she in Spider-Man Revelations, where she appears in the opening issue. Actually, it was a trade paperback. After 250, she later appeared in 656. And then she died in Spider-Man number 4. Yeah, I'm not sure why Sly killed her off for what he did. Though she was brought back one more time by J. Matias in the Ben Reilly Spider-Man Limited Series, which was really good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, I actually really enjoy this opening story. Now, here's a fun fact for you about this book. Now, you might be thinking, are any of these issues collected in trade paperback? If you're really curious, the answer is no. They are not. I don't know why, though. It's weird. it boggles me of why the heck these issues are not in trade. This storyline is really good. It talks about mental illness, and it was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. For Damon Diaz's very first story he did for the book, it was awesome. I loved it. Yeah. And if you're curious, is like the very next issue start of another story arc? Well, 184 is kind of like the anthem of the issue, but I'll discuss that. Don't worry, I'll discuss it later. But yeah, then we have odd stuff basically for the remainder of this run. We do have, it's almost like basically we stopped the whole one issue format and just with occasional loosely connected issues. And now we have actual story arcs in this series. And you would think, would Marvel Comics in trade? Nope, not really. But great set of issues. Not the biggest fan of how Sal Buscema's art style for this book. I do like his style for Hulk. It's just I'm not really a big fan of how Ash Kafka is drawing. It's almost like the way she's drawn here. It's like she's depicted a bit chunkier. Though later on they did slim her down, which I do appreciate that. Yeah, it also looks like Dr. Ash Kafka looks a bit older than she normally is. Yeah, here she looks like the way Sal Buscema draws her. It's almost like she's like, based on the way she's drawn, she's about 50-ish. But later on, they would basically fix it where she's like in her early 30s. But she looks older here. I'm not really sure why. Yeah, great idea for DeMatteis to follow up with Last Hunt here with Berman. And so that's pretty much it, particular view. Next time I'm gonna do a comic history, and I'm really interested in talking about this particular topic. Yep. Next video. Bye.